Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Vannin and today you have joined me back here on my solo playthrough. In the last episode we tamed up some Megatheriums and I said that off camera I was going to tame up a couple more and see if we could improve on the stats, and then we would start on our breeding project for the Megatheriums in order to get them ready to take on the broodmother. Well, off camera I went and tamed up a couple more. And we now have these three here. That one there is surplus to requirements, and the three in my pocket are also surplus to my requirements. So they actually all look very similar to each other, which hopefully we can get some mutations to make them stand out a bit, because they all look a bit bland, to be honest. All the like the brown ones and stuff like that I managed to tame, stats not amazing, to be honest. The original male that we had, he is actually going to stay. He was like a level 120 and he's got the best health and had a better melee damage than the other male. The other male is a different colour, but didn't really like it. It's like a reddy brown sort of colour. Wasn't that fussed. But this one here, you can see at the top here, 34 HP and 38 stam. Editor version of Vannin will post up like the picture thing probably round about nowish. To show the what I'm referring to. And when I'm referring to like points, it's the amount of points once this is tamed up. So it has pre-stats before tame that it's already been given. So it's been given a certain number of points and a certain number of points in stamina and oxygen and food, blah 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 blah. Then there's more points to be added to all of that once it tames up. So the number of levels that it gets added to, so you can see when you're taming a creature up, you can see levels dropping off if you're not using kibble. So if you use kibble tame something, then you don't lose out those additional levels that get added during the course of the tame. So those levels get added back in. And they're in the firm in terms of points, so the amount of points that get allocated to all of these stats down here. So movement speed, melee, weight, food, oxygen, stamina, and health. And movement speed is like kind of a bit of a wasted one. And so is oxygen and food to a certain degree. So movement speed, oxygen, food are kind of the ones that you don't really want to get the points into, but you know, it happens. So for a boss dino, what are we looking for? We're looking for this one here, HP, and we're looking for melee damage. We want it to hit as hard as we possibly can, and we want it to be able to stay alive as long as we possibly can. So this one has 34 points in health, so it's at 5,772, and it's got 38 points in stamina at 1920. Now, is stamina that much of a thing? Not really, but I will be wanting a Megatherium to go and do the cave, which is just over there. Just there. So that's the swamp cave, and you can get some really cool loot in there. So I would ideally like something that's got a decent amount of stam, to be honest, to be able to do all of that. So that one there has got 34 points in health and 38 points in stamina. This one here has 30 points in health and 35 in damage. And I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to do this. So damage here, 331. And you can see 5180 there in terms of health. So this one here has 30 points in health. So 5180. And the male here, if I remember correctly, has 28 points in health. Or I could be wrong. Because that's 5-1. Maybe it has 30 something. I don't know. I will figure it out. If I'm wrong, flash up the things on the screen. So, what we need to do now is we now need to combine up stats. So, that one there has 35 points of damage, so we want the damage from that one. And we want the stamina from that one. And that's 517. And that's 631. So that's still got the best health out of a lot of them. So we want the health from this one. Want the stamina from that one. And we want the damage from that one. So how do we do that? Well, quite simply, you just breed them until you get a baby that has those stats. Don't really worry about the other stats coming along. You literally just want, or in my opinion, it's just the best stat that you want coming from them. Those who play on official and they play PvP, they will be looking for instance, which has got the lowest food and which has got like the lowest oxygen levels, because what they want to do is they want this level to actually be as low as possible, because they have a level cap. If you're playing like single player, or you're playing on like a private server or something, level cap's not a thing, so you don't really need to worry about that at all. If you're playing official, then yeah, you really do need to worry about that. So if you're wanting the highest possible, if you want that headroom to go as high as possible with your levels after your mutations and things like that, then obviously you're going to want to really pay attention to these other stats and get them as low as possible if you can. However, for those who aren't, don't worry about it. Don't overcomplicate it. There's enough to pay attention to within breeding of creatures without overcomplicating it too much. So, first things first, this fella here is going to get very intimate with this girl here and that girl there and make small creature arts and crafts. Right? Then, once we've then got a baby that has got mum's damage, dad's health, mum's stam, dad's health, then we will then be looking for those two offspring to be able to combine their stats. Now, in an ideal situation, you'll have, like, say, a girl offspring over here and a boy offspring over here, and then you breed the two of them together until you get what you want, which is the combining of all of the good stats. 9 times out of 10, that doesn't actually pay off or happen, so you then need to then kind of... So if you end up with two males, they obviously can't do arts and crafts together in order to make an art or craft. So you then need to then look at breeding them then with another female in order to be able to do the stuff. Yes. Right, so... I am going to do that with these guys. I'm also going to go and do a mad meat and berry run, as I need to feed those guys up there. Need to feed everything up there. These guys will want food. The babies will want food. Like, babies will want a lot of food. Whenever you're doing breeding projects, make sure that you go and do your food runs beforehand. Get everything all prepped, get way more than you actually think you need, because babies will clear you out of everything, especially when you're preparing to kind of do boss armies and breed for mutations, because you're going to end up breeding a lot, and I do mean breeding a lot. I've been very, very fortunate in terms of the stats that I've managed to get, but then what I do is, as well as, also, you've heard me mention in the past that I don't look for max level. Whether you've increased your max level to like 180, or whether you play the normal level, which is 150. I have a theory. I don't know whether this is actually accurate in terms of how it works, but I see it time and time again, and I've spoken to other experienced players, and they all kind of like have a similar feeling. When you get a level 150, what happens is those points get evened out So you end up with a creature that has got decent stats everywhere. You don't have one standout stat. So, like, this male here was a level 120, but he's actually got better health than, I think she was a 145, and I think she was a 145. So, giving away 25 levels, but actually he's got a better stat because more of the points when he was spawned into the world, more of the points went into health, and that's just the luck of the draw. So I kind of think I create my own luck by only looking at between, like, 145 is my max. I won't look at anything higher than that. And I don't rule out the 120s of the world and things. I'll quite happily tame those and see what you get out of them. So yeah, I think to a certain degree I create my own luck, and it means I don't have to go taming as many creatures in that process, and then that's how I kind of like can sometimes be a bit quicker in getting boss armies together. So yeah, don't spend all of your time searching for that mythical max level, because a lot of the time you actually might get quite disappointed with the stats. Not always. You sometimes can get an absolute blinder of a creature, but there will be less 150s or 180s or whatever your max level is spawn in your world compared to the ones below. So you'll find more of the 120s to 135s, and you'll often actually find that you'll find the one-off stat that you're looking for, that that 50 points in damage or something like that, something insane like that. So yeah, do yourself a favor and don't rule out those low level ones. But I'm going to get breeding these together, and then I'll bring these guys back once we are in a situation where we have got at least a lot closer to combined stats. Okay, so welcome back. You will notice that there is a suspicious absence just over my right shoulder there, and that is because we now actually have a male that has the original male's health, which was 38 points. 38 points. No doubt editing me has put up something to correct my earlier faux pas anyway. But yes, so 38 points in health, and now has Mum's melee damage. I actually put down a couple of foundations just to build or bring the bums a bit higher, just because it makes life easier getting to the baby. Although they seem to like fire them out either way anyway, so didn't really make much of a difference. So now I said earlier on about, ideally we get like a male from this one over here and a female from this one over here, or vice versa, whichever way I said it, and then we breed those two together. That was like following like linear sort of thing, but realistically we were lucky enough to get a male, so we now just breed this male to that female. So all I'm going to do now is technically, really, in terms of boss army, I could stop at this point, because I don't care about weight in a fight, I don't care about movement speed in a fight, food, oxygen, or stamina for the boss armies. I'm gonna have my bum sat on a what's his name? Shouty thing. Uranus, that's the word. So I'm going to be on one of those. So I don't really care about in terms of the boss ones. But like I said, I do want one with better stamina, purely and simply for doing the cave over there to go and see if I can find some decent saddles and armor and other bits and pieces. So I'm going to add in the additional step of getting the 38 points of stamina, so the 1920 stamina, as opposed to the 1240 stam. So I'm going to do that, get the stam by breeding this one to that one, and then get one with all of the health and all of the stam. And then what I'm going to do is I'm then going to breed them until I get exactly the same stats. So all of these stats here will read exactly the same, and also most importantly the level. So whatever level I get in terms of, and these stats are the same, and I have a male and a female who are identical, that's the point that I'm going to then bring these guys back, because that's the point that I have what I then called the 0 zeros. I will then breed then to get myself, you know, 5 or 6 females, only because I've only got quite a small amount of space. If you're actually going to do this for a boss army and you have enough space, then, you know, have 10 females, 20 females, however many you want. And then you can start breeding for mutations. But it is very, very important that these here, all these stats here, are identical, and the level is identical. And the reason why you want the level to be identical is when babies get a mutation, they go up by 2 levels. So it's really, really easy to spot instantaneously that it actually has got a mutation. If they don't have mutations and things like that, and you've got, like, I don't know, say 20 females all breeding away, and you look at a sea of 20 babies, are you going to, you know, claim every single one of them and so forth and so on? Realistically, you're not. You're going to probably put some walls up, get your thyla, get in there, and just kill off the ones that, you know, aren't of the right level. You're only going to want to be claiming the ones that do have a mutation, and then you can then go in and see whether it's a mutation in the thing that you're looking for. But you can see here 0 mutations, and that's exactly what we're looking for. Let me get rid of that. And then eventually we're going to have whatever level it's going to be, and these are all going to be exactly the same, and then we can go from there. So I'll bring these guys back once I've then in a situation where I've got my 0 zeros and we are ready to then start breeding for a few mutations. I'm probably just going to concentrate on some health mutations. If I happen to get a if you know, if I have time and stuff like that, then, you know, maybe I'll have a look at doing some melee mutations. But realistically, these things get the bug buff, and then with the UT buff and then the mate buff themselves, they will do enough damage to be able to take down the broodmother. Realistically, I just want to give them a big head start in terms of health, because realistically we want another 30,000 health on top of what we've got right now, in order to take on the broodmother, depending on what kind of saddle I manage to find. You know, if I get like an absolute godlike saddle, then maybe I won't need to put quite as much health. But yes, so I shall bring these guys back once I have finished the arts and crafts and got ourselves in a position to move forwards. So back in a minute. Well, probably a few hours actually. Okay, so welcome back. We have finally managed to achieve what we were looking for, which was a male and a female. We now actually have a third female, so we have a male and 2 females, which are all exactly the same level and all exactly the same amount of stats. This has actually taken quite some time to actually get all of these in terms of, you know, getting the male, because we got the female first with all the combined stats, and then it took quite some time to actually get the male. You can kind of see, you know, she's been here a little while, getting all of that. Then I've taken a little bit of a break, and a few days later come back to finish off. So just bred this one up, because obviously you breed the 2 together and you are going to get an absolute identical creature unless you get a mutation. So we look in here and you can see no mutations whatsoever. So effectively at this stage, this is the beginning of your mutation phase, as you're now in a situation where you have identical creatures. So your 00s of your females, effectively I'm going to now just breed away, and I will keep any of the ones which are 239 and that are female up until a certain point, obviously, so however many I can actually sort of like handle in this area. Live births are always a little bit more of a pain in the backside. It's much easier just to be able to get eggs, because you can just pick all of those up. That's kind of easier than something that pops out and starts running about straight away. Yeah, so we'll breed these up and get a few more 00 females in order for us to have a larger pool to potentially hit a mutation. So we want the mutation to, ideally, the offspring to be male. If it's not male, then we are then going to breed that female when it grows up to the male until we get a male that has the mutation. You with me? We always want the mutation, or the creature that's going to breed, to be male. The one that's going to have the mutation on it to be male, because we have all these females, all these 00 females. So we want to have the male that's got the mutation to be breeding with as many creatures as possible in order to get as much of a chance to get that next mutation that we need. So I hope that kind of makes sense. I was going to do just a breeding video, just, you know, from start to finish on a project of 2020 mutations. I've done that before, where I do it with Velonosaurs, and it doesn't really matter what creature you're doing it with. The principle is exactly the same. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to go through, because I don't want 20 mutations in health and 20 mutations in melee per se, because I don't really need them, and it's not a creature that I ride a lot or use a lot or anything. I simply use them for fighting the broodmother. So I'm not going to actually sit here and breed them. Also as well is breeding projects with live creatures I'm not a big fan of. They're a pain in the backside. It's why I like Thylers, and I get like a week or so into a breeding project with Thylers looking to do 2020 mutations, and I get really bored of doing it because they're a pain. So I am more likely to do a 2020 mutation thing on a creature that is an egg layer and something I'm going to use a lot. You know, I'm going to look for a lot of mutations on Gigas, for instance, in order to do extinction. I'll probably look to do a fair amount of mutations on an Argentavis and things like that. So in the future I will do a 2020 mutation video from start to finish, and I'll take you through the entire process. But the next few videos is going to be me breeding these. So these will feature in the next sort of like maybe 3 or 4 videos, and I will keep you up to date on the progress, and you know, any fancy colors and that kind of thing. But I'll keep you up to date with the process, and I'll show you step by step. But I will get these breeding and get at least to the point where we have our first health mutation. Fingers crossed, hopefully. And on a male. So I'll show you what, you know, because it's a lot easier to visualize things than just somebody rambling on. So I will explain that bit once again with, you always want the male as the bit with the mutation, and I'll actually physically show you. So I'll cut now, and I'll come back when I'm in that situation where I have a male with the health mutation and probably quite a few more females. So I'll bring these guys back in a bit. Well, maybe a couple of days. But anyway, back shortly. For you anyway. Maybe not for me. Okay, so much time has passed, and we finally have a mutation. It's not a health mutation that we wanted. It's actually a damage mutation, of all things. The one thing that I said I really wasn't that fussed about. and that I wasn't really going to pay any attention to in terms of doing mutations for. But we've got it, so it's within the first sort of like round of mutations, so I may as well keep it and do something with it. So I'm probably going to stick in a cryopod, but now I'm at the stage where I have a mutation, I will once again explain what was going on. Beforehand, Annie, are you ready for the mutation? Are you ready? There it is. Look. Look. Oh dear. Oh. And I died. Well, now that I've come back from throwing myself off the side of this, I really do need to start thinking about putting railings up or something, because it is literally every single time. So that's her in all her glory. Yeah. That's horrendous. But anyway, so it's a female, so it means that we're going to have to do a little bit more work. So what we'll end up having to do is the female here and the 00 male that we have buried on the inside of there. Breed those two together until we get these stats here. All of these onto the male. So it's showing here the mutations on here. Basically, you want to have all the mutations on one side. So having all the mutations on the male side, running all the way down to 20, all staying on the one side, and then you can transfer them over. So once you have like a creature that has 20 damage mutations, for instance, so that's from that one line, and then you have another creature that is the product of 20 mutations from the other line. Then you can then look at combining those two together. So you then transfer the mutations over to the other one, and then you end up with your 20 mutations on that creature. So that's the reason behind it. So keeping it all on the male side means that it's much easier to do. So I am gonna cryopod this one up, and I seem to be missing a cryopod. Wondered what that Pego took. Pesky things. So I'm going to cryopod that one up because, like I said, I'm not too fussed about damage, but I'll bring it over at the end. So, and if I've got the time, maybe I'll sit there and actually do the mutations with them. So yeah, I think that's going to be the end of this video. That was quite a long one, that in terms of, not long in terms of a long video, but in terms of stuff behind the scenes. So that is the base. That's the starting of how you do all kinds of mutation prep effectively. Just doing the work at the beginning makes your life considerably easier when it comes to the end. Making sure that your initial breeders, the ones that have 0 mutations, they're labeled up correctly, making sure that they all have the same stats, making sure they're all exactly the same level. As you know, I've made the mistake in the past, and I made the mistake not that long ago. And I'd got pretty far as well. I'd got to about 12 mutations on Theres when I then realised that my original 00 breeders, I had made the mistake and actually bred with something that had a mutation. So I had to start all over again, and it's very, very painful. Fortunately, that was I was based on Genesis 2, so you know, run a couple of missions and you get a speedier breed times. But yeah, put the work in at the beginning and you will find that life is considerably easier. Label up your dinos as what they are. So in the earlier stages, when you're out taming and you're collecting up your dinos, and before you even start combining stats, just label them up what they are. It'll make your life a lot easier. Even just looking through like a cryo fridge or something, it'll make your life a lot easier. So I hope you like the video. If you do, consider giving us a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell notification or the bell icon so you get notified when I do more content. And until next time, take care.